Chairperson, Public Investments
So,
Committee.
Speaker, I have another one.
Oh, sorry,
There
go
are two.
ahead.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. The second one, that this House adopts the report of the Development Committee on Defence, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on its inspection visit to Kenyan embassies in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the state of Kuwait from 5th to 12th of May 2023, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 15th August 2023. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Chairperson, Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also have two notices. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the second report of the Public Investments Committee on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the state corporations, training colleges, institutions for the financial year 2018-19, 2019-20, 2020-2021, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 20th June 2023. Then the second notice, Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the third report of the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education on its examination of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of state corporations, Central Region, for the financial year 2018-19, 2019-20, and 2020-21, laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 6th December 2023. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023, question to be put and third reading.
Order, honorable member, take your seat. The member in the, take your seat, honorable member. Honorable members, at order number 8, I now propose the question, which is that the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023, be now read a third time. I put the question. I now put the question, and I'm satisfied we have quorum, which is that the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bill number 5 of 2023, be now read a third time. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the regulation, production, value addition, marketing, and distribution of cotton in Kenya and its products, establish the Cotton Industry Development Board, provide a framework for cotton farming, ensure value addition to cotton and its related products, and for connected purposes.
Thank you. Before I put the next question, I don't see Ndindi Nyoro. Is Mary Mase, are you handling this? Yeah? Okay, fine. Members on their feet, take your seats. Take the nearest seats. I'll now put the question at order number 9. Pardon? Call it first. Yes.
Order number 9, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2024, question to be put and third reading.
Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2024. As members of that opinion say aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2024, be now read a third time. And I also request Honorable Abilianga to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Thank you. I now propose the question, which is that the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2024, be now read a third time. I now put the question, and I'm satisfied we have quorum. Order, Kaimenyi. Order. Kailemia, sorry. Not Kaimenyi, Kailemia. In fact, she was my yearmate at the university. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2024, be now read a third time. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the additional allocations for county governments for the 2024-2025 financial year, the responsibilities of national government and county governments pursuant to such allocation and for connected purposes.
Thank you.
Order number 10, motion, inspection visit to semi-autonomous institutions of the East African community in Uganda.
Order.
Question to be
I said we go to, or is that a question also? Oh yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Order number 10, motion, inspection visit to semi-autonomous institutions of the East African community in Uganda. Question to be put.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10. Order. Order, member for Kipipiri. Which is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Regional Integration on its consideration of the inspection visit to the semi-autonomous institutions of the East African community in Uganda, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 29th November 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, special motion, consideration of nominees for appointment as Cabinet Secretary and Attorney General.
Honorable members, before I call the mover, allow me to acknowledge in the public gallery the following institutions: the Nyali Cambridge Link School, Lamu East, Lamu; St. Joseph's International Science School, Ainabkoi, Uasin Gishu; and Kipsilat Comprehensive School from Chepalungu in Bomet. I've been requested by Honorable Mandazi to welcome the school from Chepalungu. I'll give you 1 minute, and Honorable Rueda, also 1 minute. Start with Honorable Mandazi.
Thank you so much, Speaker, for the opportunity you've given to me. So I welcome all our learners to the Parliament building so as to observe the proceeding and what we do as members of Parliament. I would like to encourage them that they work hard, because if you work smart one day, one time, you will be here. You will be a leader in the future who comes here to legislate, to see the process of making budgets. Of great concern, Mr. Speaker, is this particular school from my constituency. It's dear to my heart. It is at the lowest zone of my constituency. are suffering, Mr. Speaker, simply to mention, because I was there just 2 weeks ago and I told them they should come here so that they see what happens. Completely, it has no road accessibility. And I've taken it upon myself, although actually the CDF Act has removed us, or barred us from doing roads to improve accessibility to school. And it's a feeder road, classified under county. It is a concern to all of us and as an house that when such circumstances we face as leaders, it is upon ourselves to take it and handle it so that the students can be able to do it.
If it's a feeder road, tell your governor to construct it. That is the work of the governor. Roida, 1 minute.
Asante Bwana Spika, kunipatia mimi nafasi nami niwakaribishe Cambridge School hapa Bunge. Nataka nirekebishe kidogo, vile mimi nimetoka Lamu, imeonekana hii school imetoka Lamu, lakini hii school imetoka Mombasa, Nyali. Nawakaribisha sana hapa. Mimi tu ndio niliwatafutia nafasi ya kuja kwa sababu niliomba, waliona nimewaleta Walamu wengi. Sasa na wao kuna mtoto wa dadangu ako hapo Jamil, naye akasema nataka aje Bunge. Ndio walimu wao wakaorganize wakaja hapa kwa trip. Karibuni sana. Someni, nyinyi ndio viongozi tunasema wa kesho. Hapo kwenu tupate president, marais, magavana, wabunge, speaker. Najionea hapa. Najua wengine wanataka kuwa mawakili. Tunaambiwa the sky is not the limit sahihi. Karibuni sana, kila laheri. Najua ni shule nzuri, ina sifa kochokocho, walimu wazuri, wanafunzi wana discipline nzuri. Tunaifurahia. Asanteni, kila laheri. Karibuni sana Cambridge Primary School. Thank you.
Thank you on behalf of the House and on my own behalf. I welcome those 3 schools to Parliament. Now at order number 11, we now have 6 minutes to 3. We will put the question at 4:15. I invite the mover, Honorable Junet. Once it's moved and seconded, Junet, if you can move in 5 minutes or so, then Owen Bayer, you will second. We propose the question. Members will be given 3 minutes each.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the 3rd report of the Committee on Appointments on the approval hearings of nominees for appointment as the Cabinet Secretary for East African Community Affairs and Regional Development and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this report contains the proceedings of the Committee on Appointments relating to the approval hearings of the following 2 persons for appointment as Cabinet Secretary for East African Community Affairs and Regional Development and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, as forwarded by His Excellency the President on 30th July 2024 and communicated to the House by the Speaker on 31st July 2024, Mrs. Beatrice Askul Moe, CS for East African Community Affairs and Regional Development, and 2, Mrs. Dorcas Agik Odong Odwor, OGW, EBS, Senior Counsel, Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Subsequently, the Honorable Speaker referred the CVs of the nominees to the Committee on Appointments for approval hearings in accordance with Section 6 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, CAP, and Standing Orders 2044 of the National Assembly, Standing Orders. Further, the Clerk of the National Assembly notified the nominees, Mr. Speaker, and the public that the committee will conduct the approval hearings on Friday, 9th August 2024 at the Mini Chamber County Hall, Parliament Buildings. Honorable Speaker, the committee also invited the public to submit memoranda by way of written statements on oath, affidavit, on the suitability of the nominees. To this end, the committee received 4 memoranda. 1 was hand-delivered and 3 submitted by email. Section 6(9) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act provides that any person may, prior to the approval hearing and by written statement on oath, provide the clerk with evidence contesting the suitability of a candidate to hold the office to which the candidate has been nominated. Honorable Speaker, out of the memoranda submitted, only one complied with Section 6(9) of the Act, while 3 were not in the form of affidavits and hence did not meet the requisite threshold. A detailed analysis of the memoranda is contained in Chapter 3 of the report. Additionally, it is not worthy that for memoranda that did not meet the requirement of the law, the committee converted them into questions, and the members of the committee examined the nominees on all the questions from the public as evidenced by the report. Honorable Speaker, the committee also conducted background checks on the nominees by seeking references from the EACC on ethics and integrity, help on higher education loans board, Mr. Speaker, DCI on criminal records, ORPP on holding offices in political parties, and KRA on tax compliance. Honorable Speaker, in considering the suitability of the nominees for the appointment, the committee considered the constitutional and statutory requirements relating to the offices in question and whether the nominees' abilities, experience, and qualities meet the needs of the said offices. Honorable Speaker, further, the suitability of the nominees was assessed after scrutiny of their background, academic credentials, and professional qualifications, work and professional experience, personal integrity, as well as their performance during the approval hearings. To this end, the committee observed that one, in addition to the already appointed cabinet secretaries, the nominees were drawn from various ethnic groups, including marginalized communities, and thereby a representation of Kenya's diverse communities. The nominees demonstrated an understanding of the mandates of the office to which they were being nominated. They articulated clear visions for the offices. Mrs. Beatrice Askul Moy is a career civil servant with vast experience in social governance and of arid and semi-arid lands. Ms. Dorcas Agik is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya with over 15 years' experience as a distinguished legal practitioner, hence meets the requirement for nominations as Attorney General enshrined in Article 1563 and 166 of the Constitution. She has served for over 30 years in the public service and exhibited a great sense of the roles of the Office of the Attorney General. On behalf of the committee, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank the nominees for offering themselves to the country and also thank the Office of the Clerk. But having said, Mr. Speaker, and having been part of the committee on appointment, Mr. Speaker, I participated also in the vetting of the nominees, Mr. Speaker. And I can tell this House, Mr. Speaker, without fear of contradiction, that this is now the real example of women that can lead this country, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished women, women who have prospered in their career, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the nominee for the Attorney General position, Mr. Speaker, when she appeared before us, Mr. Speaker, and she was somebody known to you, Mr. Speaker, for quite some long time, Mr. Speaker, and you worked with her in your profession of the legal fraternity, Mr. Speaker. The lady was exemplary, Mr. Speaker. If the President has rewarded, Mr. Speaker, merit, Mr. Speaker, somebody who deserves a job, Mr. Speaker, then it was in the appointment, in the nomination of Mrs. Dorcas Oduor, Mr. Speaker, as the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, that lady had vast experience in the field that she has been sent to serve, Mr. Speaker. She knew everything, from legal matters to treaties to all kinds of things that we questioned on her, Mr. Speaker. The exemplary work she has done in the ODPP, Mr. Speaker. I think, Mr. Speaker, this is a good example of women. Now, I am convinced that women can lead this country, Mr. Speaker. When I saw the interview of that lady is when I got convinced from that day that we can accept women leadership now, because we are always men chauvinists, Mr. Speaker. Men chauvinists. Now I've agreed that women is a good example of a leader, is a good example of a person who can be trusted with an office, Mr. Speaker, that deserves to be trusted to a woman, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is, Honorable Shakil is making noise here saying that why am I not appreciating my wife, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, my wife is known in my constituency because she campaigns for me and she's a distinguished leader in her own right. But today we are discussing the appointment of the Attorney General and Mrs. Beatrice School, Mr. Speaker. Mrs. Beatrice School, Mr. Speaker, is somebody known to me. She was in our election board. This is a lady who has shown how you can come from the bottom of the pyramid and go far, like today being a cabinet secretary in this country. Mr. Speaker, no, bottom up is another case. But this one is a bottom up for a different matter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this lady also has shown this country that women from minorities, women from marginalized communities can also be leaders in the country, Mr. Speaker. This country is very proud today, Mr. Speaker. If the House approves these two ladies, Mr. Speaker, we will be sending a message to this country and to the international community that we have women of high standard, women of integrity, women who can lead this country and even lead international organizations, Mr. Speaker. When I saw Dorcas Agik speaking, Mr. Speaker, she reminded me of Amina Mohammed, Ambassador Amina Mohammed, Mr. Speaker, who was a friend to me. Distinguished, a cabinet secretary who served in the former regime, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I urge this House that let us not take a lot of time in discussing these two women. These are women of high caliber, high standard. These are women who can lead this country at any time, Mr. Speaker. So with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support and I request the House to support the committee's recommendation to approve the two nominees, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, I call upon the Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable Owen Baya Yah, to second the motion, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Leader of Minority for moving with passion the adoption of this report, noting that during the interview, he was really impressed by these two ladies. Honorable Speaker, I second this motion very, very strongly, that Dorcas be made Attorney General of this country, that Mrs. Askul be made Cabinet Secretary in charge of East African Community, ASAL, and Regional Development. Honorable Speaker, allow me to commend the committee first, which was chaired by yourself, for a commendable job, for working long hours, and ensuring that the report of the committee was tabled in accordance with the prescribed timelines of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act. Honorable Speaker, the committee, which worked many hours, undertook intensive scrutiny of the evidence that was tabled before the committee. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm to this House that Kenyans of all walks of life participated in the vetting and interviewing of these people by bringing in very many memorandums and questioning many things, which also shows the growth of our democracy and constitutionalism in this country. Honorable Speaker, the public participated. So if there is any issue about public participation, they participated vigorously in terms of vetting and in terms of ensuring that we got the best. Honorable Speaker, also, we ensured that government institutions like the EACC, KRA, HELB, DCI, and ORPP also brought in information to support the vetting and the committee during that time. Honorable Speaker, I would like to zero in on one candidate, Beatrice Askul Moe, from the marginalized community, a Turkana, who started from down there, from a trade certificate to those small documents, and rose until she got a degree, she got a master's. You can see growth in the education of this lady, until she became a CEC, a county executive committee member in a county. And she ran a whole department, several departments. You can see even ODM at one time appointed her as one of the members to nominate the running mate of their candidate last time. So you can see a lady grounded properly in governance, You can see a lady grounded properly in public service. You can see a lady that is enthusiastic about serving her country. Honorable Speaker, I think we have the right candidate for the job. All she's required to do, settle in and serve Kenyans, notwithstanding where she is coming from. So I would like to ask this House, as we approve this lady, as we approve Mrs. Beatrice Askul Moe to be the Cabinet Secretary in charge of East Africa, she will be our top diplomat within East Africa. She will be our link between the regional government and the national government. Honorable Speaker, we have the right person, and I would like to request this House to support Beatrice Askul to be appointed as Cabinet Secretary in the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, Ms. Dorcas Agik Odwor, very impressive CV, one of the best in terms of law practice, one of the best in terms of law within the public service, one of the best in our court systems. She worked once at the Attorney General's office. She has experience, both national and international. A person that we can rely on to advise the head of state in terms of law. A person that we can rely on as Parliament also to advise us in terms of legislation. Someone who will not sit at our legal drafts and look at them without making an input that is positive, that will help this Parliament to actually improve on legislation and the quality of legislation that comes out of this House. Honorable Speaker, Dorcas Agik Odwor is that person that I would like to see her sit in the state law office as the Attorney General of this country and assist us and assist the President. Her job is cut out for her, Honorable Speaker. Her job is cut out well for her. You know, Honorable Speaker, as government has lost so many cases in courts. We know, Honorable Speaker, even Parliament has been challenged. Many instances where government is embarrassed because a law has come here and it has gone to court and knocked down. We want to request Dorcas Odwor, if she is approved by this House, and I want to urge members that we approve her, that she improves on the quality of laws in this country and the advice that she gives the heads of state and all other government, so that government stops losing cases. We have huge bills running almost $1 trillion because government has lost cases and the government has to pay. Honorable Speaker, lastly, I want to say this and to pay a glowing tribute to your leadership. During the vetting process, you stood out as a nationalist, as a Kenyan who loves this country, and guided us very well during the sessions. Even when it has to take many hours, even when you had to take a break to attend to other matters, but you were there punctually on time. Sometimes you came and embarrassed us earlier than ourselves, and yet you are busier than us. But I want to thank you, pay glowing tribute to your leadership, and for guiding us and for ensuring that this country has the right cabinet. I want to thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank members for listening to us, but I also want to ask you that together we approve these members so that the cabinet of Kenya can now sit, transact business, and we take this country to the next level. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I second.
Thank you, Honorable Mbaya. I now propose the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Committee on Appointments in its third report on the vetting of the nominees for appointment as Cabinet Secretaries for East African Community Affairs and Regional Development and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, laid on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 14th August 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 152.2 and 156.2 of the Constitution and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following persons. 1, Ms. Beatrice Askul Moe as the Cabinet Secretary for the East African Community Affairs and Regional Development, and 2, Ms. Dorcas Agik Odwor, Senior Counsel OGW, as the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Onyango Koyo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for honoring me with the opportunity. I want to take this opportunity to thank the
Remember, you
Appointment
have
Committee.
3 minutes or less.
To thank the Appointments Committee for doing a meticulous job in approving the appointment of these very serious ladies. It is a school I have known her through the party levels, and she's a serious, level-headed girl. But I want to speak seriously about the incoming Attorney General of Kenya, Dorcas Agik Odong Odwor. Dorcas Agik Odong was born in Sido East, Northeast Kano, Miwani Division, Moroni constituency. But at a later point, she met a man of love of her time, Engineer Odwor, and they got married and settled in Alego, Siaya County. So while we congratulate her from Moroni, we want to make it ample clear that she now belongs to Siaya County and not Kisumu County. And that Kisumu County...
Koyo. Dorcas Agik belongs to Kenya.
To Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the correction. But because we are living in a political world where people are scrambling for resources, I want to make it clear that while we thank God and we thank the appointing authorities for Dorcas, because Dorcas has worked in a serious challenges throughout her life. Dorcas was meant, if there was no political games, was meant to have been the first DPP in this republic. Those people in the legal fraternity knew when the interviews were done who qualified to be the first. And even the Honorable Speaker knows the truth. Later on, she was supposed to have been the second one. She was cheated out of it. I'm happy and thankful to God that finally the rulers of this world have found a serious person. And I urge them that they leave her latitude to practice her legal prowess without being advised. Let her be the advisor. Equally, while I thank them, I want to sound to those appointing authorities that Kisumu County is still waiting for their chance. During 1992, the late Nyachai rejoined Moi, and they agreed on the way forward. So when Moi did not honor it, he confronted Moi and said, the Kisis are asking for Litana. Litana is special meat. So we are also asking that we also part of this country, Kisumu County, they are sending me to ask for their Litana. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Maina Madenga Nyeri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I support the appointment of these two ladies, and I add my voice in urging us as a House to pass them so that they can be appointed by His Excellency the President into the Cabinet. Honorable Speaker, I think this is one of the areas where the President and this House will have performed quite well in terms of the improved gender parity in the Cabinet. And the other aspect, Honorable Speaker, is the widening up of the space in terms of participation of Kenyans from different persuasions in the Cabinet and in the top leadership organ of the country. Honorable Speaker, I dare propose to Kenyans that I think it is time that we adopted this model of governance every time after elections. That it is not sufficient for the winner of a presidential election to just restrict their sights on the side of the country that actually voted overwhelmingly for the winner. Because once you win, you become a president of the entire country. It is best if presidents going forward will look at the nation with the lenses of the entire nation and always give us the best possible brains in the leadership at the Cabinet and other appointments. Honorable Speaker, I look at during the last tenure of the late President Moi, and he had to appoint Baba into his last term when Tinga Tinga was swallowed by the cockerel. Later, the Tinga Tinga was swallowed by the cockerel. Later, Honorable Speaker, we would see Mwai Kibaki come together with a consternation of Kenyans in Raila Odinga, the late Wamalwa, and Charity Giru. And whenever the country has been in that position, we have seemed to perform well. Honorable Speaker, I want to congratulate the two ladies. and especially the appointee for the position of Attorney General. She has a depth of experience and a wealth of experience that can only benefit this country. Honorable Speaker, I support.
Julia Sunguli.
Mr. Speaker, I also join those who are supporting this motion. And I don't know Ms. Moy well, but I trust the judgment of those who know her and congratulate her for being appointed. Mr. Speaker, I know Dorcas Agik. She's a colleague in the law. I know that she has grown through the ranks in the Attorney General's office and also in the ODPP. She's a special one in the sense that for the last two Attorney Generals we have had experience in the other arms of government, one as a judge and the other one as a member of parliament. But this is a distinguished lady who has patiently looked into the law in different aspects. She's been in the civil part of the Attorney General as well as in the criminal department. I know that a lot rotates around the office of the Attorney General, and we as lawyers are looking for a head of the bar who understands us. I know that there is a lot that is going to be coming to this house that needs to be observed by the Attorney General. I know that the Attorney General needs to advise government, especially on what is right and what is wrong in financial transactions. We hope, and I join my colleague who says, we hope that the government will take the advice of the Attorney General and not the other way around. Because it so happens sometimes, Mr. Speaker, that Attorney Generals have to say things that the executive does not like. We hope that the things, because we believe in the rule of law, Dorcas's advice and the accolades we are giving to her will be of good meaning to the government as it is today. The two ministers are joining the government of different political parties. And this is going to be a big challenge. We hope that they don't go there to serve the party that appointed them, but indeed that they will serve the country at large. I support.
Epuyo Nanok.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the chance to weigh into this motion. And from the onset, Mr. Speaker, let me appreciate the Appointments Committee for a job well done. And we can trust that what you've brought us is work that you've put in your minds and your experience as a committee of this House, and have given this House a report that we can be proud of. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate His Excellency the President, William Ruto, for giving us an opportunity to serve in his cabinet. I'm saying us, those of us from the marginalized communities, those of us from those ASAL areas. What we need, Mr. Speaker, is opportunities of this nature. To be able to show our ability, to be able to serve as Kenyans and portray the regional balance, portray the diversity of the Republic of Kenya in the service of the country. Mr. Speaker, I know Beatrice, a school, and the Turkana Nation, Mr. Speaker, is proud and are very grateful to His Excellency for the opportunity he has accorded one of our daughters to be part of the cabinet serving this country. She has exemplified level-headedness, Mr. Speaker. She has served in various capacities, including being among the initial CECs of the county government of Turkana, and she served honorably. And so, Mr. Speaker, it is an opportunity that we want to say thank you to His Excellency as the appointing authority, but I will not want to stop before I say thank you to the former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, for having tapped and seen the ability that Beatrice School has shown. And so I want to say thank you and wish them well as they serve this country. Thank you.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kuchukua fursa hii kuweza kupongeza hawa wanawake wawili ambao wameweza kuteuliwa katika nyanja mbalimbali. Mheshimiwa Spika, niweze kusema kuwa Kenya ilikuwa imeenda sehemu mbaya Mheshimiwa Spika, na nachukua pia fursa hii kumpongeza Rais wa taifa hili Mheshimiwa William Samoei Ruto kuweza kuleta uwiano katika taifa Mheshimiwa Spika, na hii imekuwa sababu ya sisi kupata wanawake wazuri shupavu ambao wana uweledi wa kazi, ambao ni maono ya wanawake katika Kenya nzima Mheshimiwa Spika. Na pia tukizingatia zile thuluthi tatu ambao tulikuwa tunatafuta kama kina mama, mimi na hakika kuwa hawa kina mama Mheshimiwa Beatrice na Mheshimiwa Dorcas watafanya kazi zao kulingana na katiba Mheshimiwa Spika. Na sisi tunasema palipo na uongozi wa kina mama hata maji huwa yanapanda mlima Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo nachukua fursa hii kuwapongeza hasa ile kamati ambayo iliweza kuwateua, ile kamati ambayo iliweza kuwapitisha Mheshimiwa Spika, na nipende kukushukuru sana, niliweza kufuatilia kwa kina, na nikushukuru Mheshimiwa Spika, vile ulivyokuwa unapeleka mambo hayo, ulikuwa unapeleka kwa uweledi sana, na hukuangalia hivi ama vile, uliangalia ule msimamo ambao wale walikuwa nao na mkawapitisha Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo mimi naombea dada zangu, nawaambia mshike kasi, mjenge taifa, msiweze kulemea upande mmoja, mfuate sheria ili tuone uongozi wa kina wanawake unaleta mabadiliko katika taifa. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naombea Mungu awaweze kuwapa nguvu na ghari ya kuweza kufanya kazi bila kuangalia huku na kule. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
David Ocheng.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I followed the proceedings of this vetting, and I can tell you, because you don't watch yourself, your committee enjoyed this vetting these two ladies compared to what we saw the other week, because these two ladies were grace, candor, honesty, heartfelt answers. We watched them, and we believe, Mr. Speaker, that these were right nominations. Mr. Speaker, since when I was 17, the first election, every candidate for president talks about Singapore and South Korea and Malaysia. I heard that year, President Moi himself, Baba Raila Odinga was a candidate at that time, and they were saying, we want to build a South Korea. I heard the same stories in 02 between Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta. I heard the same stories last election between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, who is now the president, that they want to build a Singapore. Mr. Speaker, the biggest secret, the distinguishing feature of South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, has never been the roads are built, not the planes they built, but the energy they put in the character and meritocracy in how government is run. I believe these two ladies, Mr. Speaker, epitomize what public service should look like. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that in future, if we go this way, then this country can do well. I only hope and pray, because the cabinet is the foremost advisor of the president. The AG is also a foremost advisor of the president for legal affairs. I only pray and hope that other people will not be allowed to come between the advice these two ladies give the president, their dockets, and the decisions that are being made, Mr. Speaker. I believe that Madam Askul can do a good job in the ESC docket, and needless to say, Madam Dorcas is the epitome of competence. Wish them well and hope that they do well for the country the way they did in the interviews.
Ben Soda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I would want to stand here foremost very proud of my fellow scholars who are right on track in the world of academia, where Honorable Dr. Joyce Atieno Sogo is found as an academia. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I rise to support Beatrice and Dr. Oduol for having achieved in academic standards. And that was evidence on how they presented their cases, on their publication and thorough mastery of content on what they're going to represent the Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the two ladies, and I want it to go on record that I salute, it must be on record, His Excellency Baba Raila Amolo Odinga for the support of the gender, female gender, for the nominee that was exhibited, that gender rule on female is quite fundamental in this country by the President, Dr. Samuel William Ruto. I want also to say that for the peace which was supposed to be maintained, even it was exhibited yesterday when Baba was in a function that President, the late Uhuru, also informed that stability was important. Electing and appointing the women creates stability in this country.
Order, Bensouda. Uhuru Kenyatta is a retired president, is not a president-elect.
Not elect. I'm saying Uhuru is retired. I'm talking on stability. Get the concept of what I'm heading to. I'm talking about stability of this nation. And so I want to say, Mr. Speaker, when this nation has started recognizing the competency of women, women of substance, women who are academicians, women who are effective, gone are the days, Mr. Speaker, where women thought that their bottom powers can make them rise to power. And we are saying that we are not on occasions where women thought that either through sex they can rise to power.
Time up. Dorothy Kiara, take your seat.
I can't. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also want to join in this motion and commend the appointment committee for the work well done. Honorable Speaker, we are talking about nominees who have qualified to become cabinet secretary after the vetting, and who I suppose this House will have consideration and recommend them so that they can go and work for Kenya. Honorable Speaker, I have listened very passively to the speakers in this House, those who know on Beatrice very well, who has been given the docket of East African Community and Regional Development. And Honorable Speaker, from what I'm getting and even from watching how she performed in the interview, I am convinced this is the right person for that docket. Honorable Speaker, I also listened to the nominee for Attorney General, Honorable the lady Dorcas Oduol, and Honorable Speaker, I'm convinced she is the right person. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say this very quickly. I heard Honorable Junet talking about if these women, and I want to say for record, Honorable Speaker, women, when given and accorded an opportunity, they can be able to perform much better than even the male counterparts. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying this because it's always said, what a man can do, a woman can do it better. Honorable Speaker, I am saying, in the next subsequent nominations, Honorable Speaker, I want...
Ms. Shimbogo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this motion by the Committee of Appointment. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to appreciate His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto for making an history. He has made history today, having nominated the first woman who is going to occupy the position of Attorney General in the Republic of Kenya.
That is an history, and I want to say thank you. Second history is to nominate a woman from a marginalized community, the Turkana, the first woman, if approved by this House, to be a cabinet secretary in the Republic of Kenya. Thank you, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for making history. Honorable Speaker, when we are doing vetting, it was really amazing. Dr. Dorcas Angik demonstrated knowledge, even on technical issues on the portfolio she's going to occupy. She also demonstrated the path and a roadmap from where we are and where we want to be as a country. The professional experience she has in terms of legal matters. She has worked in the judiciary and so many other areas pertaining law. Honorable Speaker, Madam Beatrice Askul is a person I know. I've been with her in the ODM. She really proved that she's going to bring some measures and strategy to help the communities in the Asal area. Having been born and bred in Turkana, being part of Asal area. Honorable Speaker, I think this was the best thing which our president has really done for this country. I know now we are making progress in terms of gender mainstreaming, or rather gender balance. It's now we are feeling the gender disparity which we have been having in this country. I'm so happy that to
Bashir. Honorable Bashir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First and foremost, I want to appreciate the appointment committee for the thorough job that we have been doing. I watched the vetting process of these two great women during the vetting, and I can attest that you, as a chair of that committee, plus your members, you handled them very well. Coming back to the two great ladies, I want to congratulate them first for making it to the list of being nominated by His Excellency the President. These are two women who have demonstrated that they have capacity, they have knowledge, and the wherewithal to handle what awaits them. The Attorney General nominee, Ms. Dorcas Odwol, is returning back to the Attorney General chambers, having worked there before. And so she understands the role expected of her as the next Attorney General of this country. And being the first woman to also occupy that house, she has all the knowledge and the capacity, and that has been demonstrated. To Beatrice Moe, who comes from Turkana, which is also a marginalized part of this country, and coming from the pastoralist community, I want to also thank the President for nominating the first Turkana woman to be in the cabinet of this great nation of Kenya. I know that Beatrice, having worked in Turkana before, and she started from the lower level and risen to the ranks, has the capacity to perform her duties as East African Community and Regional Development. And I'm sure these two ladies will show Kenyans that they have the capacity to perform even better than most people will think. I want
Carolo Mondi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to stand on behalf of Class of 90, University of Nairobi, to support the nomination of Dorcas Odwol as the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Class of 90, I believe, is the most consequential class in the history of University of Nairobi. We've produced a president and many other leaders in this country. And now we are producing the first female Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. I did join the Office of the Attorney General with Dorcas, and we have worked closely together for many years, and I have full confidence in our ability to discharge the duties of that office. I'm also very happy to reinforce what Honorable Koyo said, that Dorcas has waited a long time for this opportunity. She should have been our first DPP under the 2010 Constitution if it was not for negative politics. Most recently, we've been working together with Dorcas on establishing a framework criminal investigations law, which we do not have in this country, so as to help in fighting corruption. And hopefully very soon, I did send a request to your office, we will be able to generate a draft of a bill that will regulate criminal investigations in this country. How we train and the qualifications that we require for our investigators, how the process of investigations should be done, and how we can use forensic science and other modern investigative tools in dealing with crime. Secondly, we are also working on nationhood science as a new subject in trying to amend the curriculum so that we could actualize Article 10 of the Constitution as well as Chapter 6. These are some of the matters. I think that draft bill is already with the Budget Committee, and hopefully when she's the Attorney General, we'll be able to move these things forward. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I did request, and I wrote to you, that when an appointments committee gives us the report, it should be a little more detailed. You may recommend a candidate, but you should also give us your observations, whether you have any reservation.
Murugara. George Murugara.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to add my voice to supporting these two nominees who are now before the House and who this House has to approve this afternoon so that they can start discharging their duties. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I sat on the Committee on Appointments, and you actually chaired that committee so well, and it did a fantastic job. We've already approved the first batch. This is the second one. Possibly there's going to be a third one, but that shows how serious that committee is, and especially the lawyers who actually went through the vetting, most of whom possibly passed through your hands. You mentored them, and they are now the leaders who have to serve the country with distinction. It goes without gainsaying that the Lady Beatrice, a school, actually demonstrated great knowledge of regional development, especially including ASAS, where she comes from, and mapping out Kenya as the areas that deserve to be considered as marginalized. As for Dorcas Oduor, it is well known, and we now say God's time is actually the best time. She may not have become DPP, she may not have become judge of the High Court or Court of Appeal or Supreme Court, but now she is the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, and she has to serve the country with a dedication and demonstration of goodwill as she has done in the past in the areas she has served. Mine would be to congratulate them and urge them to serve this country in the best interest of everyone as Kenyans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Asinyen, Women Rep Turkana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this good motion. First and foremost, Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the vetting committee for the good job, for vetting the two great ladies and bringing them to this level. Mr. Speaker, my gratitude goes to His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto for what he has done. One, for opening up a dialogue with the rest of Kenya, and now this is the results we are discussing today, Honorable Speaker. It started as a candid conversation between him and other leaders, and now we are having new names in the cabinet, Honorable Speaker. As the Turkana people, we are very much grateful to His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto. This is the first time a Turkana woman is appearing in the Kenyan cabinet, and we want to say thank you, thank you. Without forgetting His Excellency Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for rewarding loyalty. Honorable Beatrice's school has been a staunch supporter of one Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So we want to thank him also for rewarding loyalty, Honorable Speaker. Now, at the moment, Honorable Speaker, I'm a comfortable leader because I can really see we are headed to the right direction. The country is headed to the right direction. If those marginalized communities are now part and parcel of the decision-making table, Honorable Speaker, we now feel like we are also fully fledged Kenyans. So we want His Excellency Dr. Samoei Ruto to continue steering the country towards that unity path so that those that have never had a chance to feel to be Kenyans can feel to be Kenyans. I want to thank
Bishop Hamala.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this special motion on appointment of the Cabinet Secretary and the Attorney General. I want to applaud you, Honorable Speaker, for the good work you did with the vetting committee. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say that it's a very good time for women of Kenya because the girl child in the past felt marginalized. But with these appointments, we are seeing that women are getting into their space. Sometimes it's worrying that the boy child may be getting in trouble. So this is a good signal, good indicator for the girl child. And what I know, Madam Beatrice and the Attorney General, Madam Dorcas, these are great Kenyans. And also at the same time, Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that His Excellency President William Ruto and the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga have done something for this country. The issue and the notion of thinking that when a government comes in place, it is just for a specific people or people with shares in that government. This has brought that to an end, where all Kenyans feel this is their government, they are part of Kenya, and we can be proud of being Kenyan citizens. We can be proud of our government, and we can go to those offices without feeling intimidated or thinking that if I don't own a share, I am not part of it. Even the people in Turkana, people in Western Kenya, people in the coastal part of Kenya are now part of this government. Whether they have come in through the door, through the window, even me, I've come in through the window, and I am on the inside. On the inside, I'm inside.
Wanjiku Moya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the onset, I stand on behalf of my Committee of Regional Integration to congratulate the two great ladies, especially Honorable Beatrice, who will be working close to us, and also recognizing that the AG is a critical position, particularly this time when we are handling the amendment of the treaty, also in keeping the legal instruments of the community. And the AG will time and again be advising the Council of Ministers. Honorable Speaker, I look forward and hope it is during this time of the CS Beatrice, the incoming EAC Minister, we shall realize the ever-challenging issue of financial mechanism. We have always had the remittance avenue, and we have been looking forward as a community how to resolve this matter. I hope it is during her time we shall realize this, and it will be a thing of the past which has been troubling the community. Honorable Speaker, it is also a critical time because we are already in the political confederation, a transition to the political federation, and I'm proud because this House, through our committee, were able to give the amendments and the contribution, and I am also hoping it is during the CS Beatrice that this political confederation will be realized. As a woman leader in Kenya, in this House, as women of this country, as Honorable Junetta have said, we are very proud because we have been able, not looking where the women came from, either ODM or Kenya Kwanza. As women tribe of Kenya, we have been able to produce two great women who will steer the matters of this country, and we are very proud, and again, I congratulate them.
Rico, member for Turkana South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to raise my voice on this motion. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by appreciating the Committee on Appointments for recommending these two ladies into these positions. Honorable Speaker, I want to be very clear that this government belongs to all of us. This government, we are shareholders of this government. Despite the fact that we are opposition, you are executive, we are all in one government. Honorable Speaker, to be very clear, Honorable School is a constituent, is my constituent. and I have known her from my childhood. She has done a lot in terms of working with the non-governmental organizations, Oxfam, World Vision, and all those NGOs that are supporting the ASAL areas. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto for considering the Turkana nation as part of his government. In addition to that, I want to appreciate His Excellency Engineer Raila Amolo Odinga for having proposed a Turkana, the first lady to sit in his government. Honorable Speaker, this will bring our nation together by considering the marginalized community. The marginalized community will consider that they are part of this government. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Wakili Mureu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice, in particular on the job well done by the Committee of Appointments led by the Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to, first of all, thank you, in particular, the appointing authority, for proposing these two ladies. And as the Secretary in charge of legal affairs of the UDA party, is in line with our constitution to ensure that we bring as many ladies to areas of leadership as much as possible. And therefore, Madam Beatrice, Madam Dorcas are aligned in our constitution. Second, Mr. Speaker, in particular on the issue about the Attorney General, I happen to know Dorcas Odwo for many years as a commercial practitioner. She joined the AG chambers as a state, as a state prosecutor, as a state counsel. She has grown through the ladder, and therefore, she knows all the cracks and corners in the AG chambers. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General Chambers is the largest law firm. It requires somebody who has got the intricacies of the running of that organization. It has one side on litigation, and the other side, it holds the government in terms of the commercial side of the government. And there's no better person to run that organization like Dorcas Odwo. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the broad-based government is not working. If it were not for the proposal for broad-based government, we would not have the qualities and the knowledge of Dorcas Odwo. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Jared Okello.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much. Firstly, allow me to congratulate our two gallant heroines. Honorable Speaker, before the ravaging floods of the 60s in Nyando constituency, the family actually lived there. Then they moved to Muhoroni constituency, and therefore, just like Honorable Koyo, I also claim stake. Honorable Speaker, I have known Dorcas, and she is beautiful both physically and mentally. And Honorable Speaker, she has what it takes to run our legal systems in the office of the Attorney General, if given time to operate, Honorable Speaker. The litany of cases being lost in our courts of law against the government, Honorable Speaker, is a testament that there is a disconnect somewhere. Somebody is not being given an ample opportunity to serve this country in that capacity. If there are other people advising the president over and above the advice coming from the office of the Attorney General, then that has to stop so that Dorcas can be given an opportunity to serve this country that she loves. Honorable Speaker, I have known Beatrice at school. I sit in the National Executive Committee of ODM Party. And she delivers her messages, her thoughts in such a humorous way that leaves everybody, shocked by how she does it, Honorable Speaker. I have full confidence in these two ladies that I have known so well over the years, that their dockets that have been given to them will have what we call a rapid flight towards progress, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, support and I congratulate these two wonderful women. Asante sana.
Ferdinand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the chance. On the first, I want to congratulate the committee for the well-done job to have come up with these ladies. And they were thoroughly investigated, and I find the two ladies actually ranked very well in the committee. Secondly, of course, this is the first time we're going to have a lady as AG of this country. And I think looking at what she has rank and file and what, of course, what she has gone through, I think we're going to have a lady that has been able to do a good job as an AG. And of course, therefore, with that experience and of course, having gone through the rank and file, we are very happy that that is going to be our AG as a lady since independence. Secondly, of course, I want to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency the President for having nominated this lady from a very far-off community. And I'm actually my neighbors, and I think the lady too, I think she's going to do a very good job. And of course, when she was vetted again, she knows that she can do a job. And therefore, I take this opportunity to thank the two ladies and wish them well. And of course, to thank the committee for having come up with these ladies for a change in this country. I support. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Before I call the next member, allow me to welcome Mobego Comprehensive School from Belgut in Kericho County, who are in the public gallery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is a melting point of many nation states. And Mr. Speaker, all of us must remember our forefathers when they brought us together from different regions to put a claim to this beautiful premier nation called Kenya. Mr. Speaker, these two great ladies, one coming from the nation state of Turkana and the other one coming from the nation state of Luo, will add great value in the governance platform of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we also need to thank the President for thinking out of the box, for being a statesman, for bringing Kenyans together at a time when everybody expected things to go haywire. Mr. Speaker, we also want to appreciate your leadership and the way you have steered that committee in the whole public discourse, Mr. Speaker, at a time when there was a lot of public scrutiny. Mr. Speaker, these two individuals, Dorcas Award will bring in a thorough institutional experience, our knowledge in public law, to transform this great institution called the Office of the Attorney General. And you know, Mr. Speaker, as a person of immense legal mind, that office requires a complete change, Mr. Speaker, so that the problems this country has been facing in legal advice, Mr. Speaker, are sorted out once and for all. My good lady, my sister, Patrice, once upon a time, Mr. Speaker, you remember this also, I'm sure you remember, one time Zaimoy went to Turkana, Lodwar, and as usual, after his public prayer, one of the members of parliament, and I don't want to mention the name, stood and said, "What about Turkana?" I think that era is now gone. Every phase of the Republic of Kenya, courtesy of our constitution, plays a critical role in our governance structure. And therefore, Patrice and cohort, wherever you are, please don't let down the pastor in this nation. Demonstrate, because now...
Chair Orot, Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to take time to congratulate the nominees, Dorcas Agik and Patrice School. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, because of especially the perseverance and the patience that the vetting committee had during that time of vetting these nominees. Mr. Speaker, I took time to watch and even observe what was going on. In most cases, Mr. Speaker, you took time. You took time, Mr. Speaker, even to rally behind the committee, and I must congratulate you on that, Mr. Speaker. I want also to congratulate His Excellency the President for endorsing the two names. As my colleagues have mentioned, for the first time in the history of Kenya, we are going to have a lady AG who is going to be the legal advisor of this country. And I want to wish well Dorcas in her new work and new job when we are going to, because we are going to approve. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, this lady Beatrice from Turkana. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I want to welcome her because I'm in the Committee of Regional Development, and I know when she's going to be approved here, Mr. Speaker, she's going to do her job well. Otherwise, I want also to congratulate the entire members of Parliament also because of the unity that we have together and the way we have been working, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Lillian Kogo.
Thank you so much, Dr. for this opportunity you've given me. I also rise to support, and I want to thank the committee for the good work they did, and I want to thank the honorable ladies nominee who were given an opportunity to serve our country. And as they were being interviewed, I saw they observed, and they were very well versed with Article 232 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. I want to implore the systems to give them money to work, because it is one thing to be given an opportunity and it is another to be facilitated to do your work well. So I urge Parliament that has the power of the pocket to give them money. We wish them well as ladies of this republic. And when you looked at them, Honorable Speaker, they are elegant, they are also eloquent, they are exposed, and they are well educated and well informed in what they were being asked, and I know they are going to deliver well in their docket. I also want to thank Parliament, and especially the committee that was doing this job. The kind of questions the committee was asking was serious questions that showed that this time round there was no joke, and it was not just a matter of passing nominees. So I want to wish them well, Honorable Speaker, and I know as women they are going to deliver. I want to thank the President, Dr. Ruto, for considering women. And I also want to thank my party leader that given an opportunity, he also considers women. Emancipation of women in leadership is taking a different turn, and I know it's going to be for our good. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Taitumu. Next.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First of all, may I start by congratulating the two gracious ladies for their appointment. Mr. Speaker, these two ladies exhibited high degree of competence and also in-depth knowledge of their subject area. Madam Beatrice Asku is a real role model for the girls of this country, particularly from the peripheral areas and the marginal areas of this country. Madam Dorcas displayed a high degree of competence in the areas of law, and we believe as a country that this gracious lady will do a lot to bring justice and actually advisory services to the end of state. For this reason, Mr. Speaker, I support and we are impressed as a country, and we are asking all girls, wherever they are, to know that they can rise to the top. What is actually required is to be in school, and also to be mindful, and also handwork pays at the end of it all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support.
Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this, and I first start to appreciate the work that the committee has done, chaired by you. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to just make one point regarding that it's good that we get these reports early. The last time we got the report while the process was going on, today it is the same. It is important that as members, we actually get opportunity to read this report. While we are doing this vetting, we must be aware that the public is also vetting us, and they read these reports. Sometimes they wonder if you are making comments are not relating to the report. Despite that, Mr. Speaker, I think your team did a good job, and I think you enjoyed vetting professionals of competence. I'm sure you did that. And Madam Askul, I looked at the report. She has done community work, and to be in charge as a CEC in water, in ODM, and as you know, ODM is a big, complex party, and for her to have worked so well, that is really competence. My advice to her is that when you go to the East African, she goes to the East African community, let us create a community that we belong to, not countries that are actually bickering with each other. I wish to have the community as the one I knew when I was a child, and even you, I think, Mr. Speaker, where we knew or we belonged to one community. Oduore is exemplary. She should have been a deputy prosecutor a long time ago. Look at the international work she's done. The Harare Mutual Legal Assistance Scheme, evaluation.
Haji.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I stand to support the motion. From the point of view of national cohesion, integration, and equal opportunity, I'm now seeing some good light at the end of the tunnel. This is where we need to go, that Kenyans are Kenyans, regardless of which corner they come from. From the ASAL point of view, this now is going to be a role model for all other ASAL areas where our women are struggling hard to make sure that they also come to leadership. So if she has done it, why not others? So it's a role model for ASAL areas. For Madam Dorcas, I interacted with her and learned her during last parliament in my capacity as a member of the National, JLAC, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee member, and I assure you guys, this house, that is a lady to look at. She is a performer.
Don't get
She is
carried
a
away. There are no guys
perfectionist.
here. We only have honorable members.
Yeah, honorable members, I assure you she's a perfectionist and she performs beyond reasonable doubt. And therefore, Kenya is now heading to the right direction. As the chair of National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity, I'm very happy indeed. Thank you.
Opondo Kaluma.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you. Honorable Speaker, let me thank His Excellency the President, who is the appointing authority for these nominations. Honorable Speaker, I looked through the parliamentary approval process under the charge of your committee, and I was very pleased by the competences of these two ladies. But Honorable Speaker, let me mention that this is the first time we are having a female Attorney General in the Republic of Kenya, and the first Attorney General from that side of the country. But Honorable Speaker, let me also add that these are not the only accolades. I served in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee in my last 2 terms, and Dorcas Oduor was the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. I remember the Honorable Keriako Tobiko. He was also the Principal Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions to Mr. Nurdin Haji, now Director serving the nation elsewhere. Our devotion to duty is something that we appreciate. And let me thank the President for making it possible, Honorable Speaker, that as a country we can truly live the meaning of Article 232. This is one position nobody ever believed a Luo would, a person of Luo ethnic extraction would ever hold, just like the other one of Badi. So we are eternally grateful, and we wish her Godspeed when she serves the country in that sector. If there were time, I would have said more. But let me also congratulate our Turkana sister, a former member of the ODM National Elections Board, for the work she did well, and for the work she'll go forward to do for the country. I congratulate them and wish them well, Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Omboko Milembe.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this chance. I want to congratulate the two ladies who have been nominated and quickly indicate that around 1860s, America goes to war, and in that war, civil war, Lincoln decides to include the opposition in his government. And that's how he brings on board the likes of Bates, Chase, and others, and forms a team of rivals. I believe with these two nominees, we come to an end of this broad-based cabinet, which I wish well to work for this particular country. I want to congratulate the President, William Samoei Ruto, for having thought out of the box to create this broad-based government, because it's very important during very unique times to make extraordinary moves. I also want to congratulate Raila Amolo Odinga, because at the time of crisis, he stood up as a statesperson to make sure that we make the government move forward. Otherwise, during very difficult times in any nation, it's very difficult to move forward if you don't have statesmen like Raila Amolo Odinga. And I wish him well as he goes for the AU job. Finally, I want to congratulate the Kenyans. The Kenyans always are very, very strong in terms of going through tough times. In 1971, Kenyatta goes through the coup of 1971. And Moi goes through the coup of 1982, but Kenya remains strong. Kibaki comes in, he goes through the referendum failure of banana and orange, but he dissolves his cabinet, Kenya stands. Under Uhuru, Uhuru goes through the very high court judgment which went through the Supreme Court that presidential elections had been failed. The first one in Africa, Kenya stands. And finally, Ruto must go through this. Thank you, Kenyans.
We are almost exhausted. Omanyo, 1 minute only.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I applaud the appointment of the ladies that have shown the world, not just Kenya, that actually with substance in any gender, what these women are going to do, it's going to actually show the world that we can break the walls of discrimination. We can break what we thought was impossible. This lady who's going, if we are going to actually prove, because I know what they showed us, it proves that they can do it. So both of them were very powerful in their speaking. They showed that they prepared well and they were organized. So people who doubt that women cannot, especially a seat like Attorney General, people are already talking, saying, hey, that one needs a very powerful person. It just needs that kind of person that we have now, committed, very knowledgeable, and who has been there for a very long time. So I believe that the two will make us proud.
Wamrada. Wamrada, 1 minute. Give her the mic. There you are. Or is ahead of you? Give her there you are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I really want to congratulate these two ladies. I personally watched Beatrice being interviewed, and I really want to congratulate both of them, and especially her, being an example of one lady that has come from a hardship. I heard her explain her background, and I thought she's a good role model for the girls in that region where she comes from. And I really want to also thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the panel that you had, because you are also very lenient to her. You are very fair. At some point, she looks panicking, and you people held her together. And I thought that was a good show for all of you that were in that panel. And I really want to appreciate and thank you for standing with her and helping her to compose herself and deliver on what she believed in, because she knew what she was talking about. I also want to thank the President of this Republic for appointing these two ladies in these positions, and we want to believe that they are going to deliver as they promised during the interview. And thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for that.
Malim, 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to join my colleagues in thanking our President, William Ruto, for having a cabinet that essentially, in every sense of the word, in terms of the diversity of this country, is very representative. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy for Beatrice, the lady from Turkana, It's a very powerful motivation to the girls, pastoralist girls from my own constituency. Mr. Speaker, I have known Dorcas Odwor for the longest. That is one office that essentially is going to be manned by somebody who is not there just because she is from the female gender, but has the capacity to become one of the best AGs in this country's history. Mr. Speaker, we went through a lot of problems, but I'm very happy the kind of the cabinet we have today and its diversity and the representation of the four corners of this country in every sense of the word. So I want to thank the President once more, and let's move on and build our country. Thank you.
Naomi Wako, 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also congratulate you for the job well done, as I also congratulate the two ladies, Dorcas Agek and Beatrice. I watched them and I felt proud of their performance. They proved to be capable of the responsibility and the task ahead. And as a woman, I felt proud of their performance. Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank the government, our president, for recognizing the capacity of women in this country and for recognizing them and putting them in different positions. And I am sure these two ladies will perform, and especially the lady from Turkana, because she's my neighbor. I'm proud of her, and I'm sure she will serve this country, and many will be surprised because they will all be effective, they'll be accountable, and they will prove to people that what a man can do, a woman can even do better.
Tindi Mwale. You have 1 minute, Baba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the report of the appointment committee that has approved the appointment of the two ladies. Mr. Speaker, as you know, there's a popular saying that behind every successful man, there's a lady. So I believe behind the cabinet, the success of the cabinet, if we have more women, we are going to see government performing very well. And I also want to thank His Excellency the President for accepting to form the broad-based government, which he has also included members who have got substance to lead, as we have seen with the two appointments of the great ladies. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Rendikiri.
I thank you, and I want to identify myself with the report of the committee which you shared. Mr. Speaker, I was very keen on checking the suitability of the two candidates for the job. Madam Speaker, Beatrice has a serious business to do with the East African community. Mr. Speaker, you know, in the story of deepening, tightening, and widening of the initiatives of the East African community, we believe that she has the capacity to steer the Kenyan position more diplomatically in areas that affect the East African community. Madam Speaker, East Africa is...
Which Madam Speaker are you addressing?
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I apologize, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Madam Beatrice, Mr. Speaker, has the capacity, Mr. Speaker, to analyze and manage the issues that affect the East African community, including but not limited to issues of conflict, issues of trade, issues of democracy and good governance, issues of political integration, Mr. Speaker, and also the issues of ASEL and regional development.
Jeho.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to thank the co-chairs of the broad-based government, Mr. Speaker. His Excellency, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and the President of this Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, I think the honorable member, she is completely out of order. There is no co-chairs of a broad-based government, Mr. Speaker.
We have one president, William Samoei Ruto.
Honorable Jeho, you are out of order, and you are being mischievous for no reason.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well noted, but Mr. Speaker, we have a broad-based government, and it was good that we stick to that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because of the time, I want to take this opportunity to thank the President for giving opportunity to these distinguished ladies, Mr. Speaker. A lot has been said to Dr. Odrod, Mr. Speaker, and we thank him for trusting her, and hopefully this will be a historic moment. Mr. Speaker, the reason why I stood is because of Beatrice Askol, Mr. Speaker, a fellow lady from marginalized community, Mr. Speaker. Probably who went to school without shoes, Mr. Speaker, and who went and schooled under a tree, just like most of us, Mr. Speaker. Just like many of us, that's what I'm being told, Mr. Speaker. And we want to thank the President for trusting her and giving her to this docket she's going to hold.
Dr. Mutunga, 1 minute. Junet.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to also add my voice to this debate. Honourable Speaker, I rise to congratulate the two ladies for the nomination, subsequent appointment, because they are passed through the Committee on Vetting. Honourable Speaker, the two ladies show us great potential in this country, especially Dorcas Oduor, who has been instrumental in the advisory and the legal circles. Honourable Speaker, she combines two fundamentals which are precursor to performance. One, professionalism, and she's also very well, long-serving in terms of relevant experience. Honourable Speaker, for the President to think about broad-based government has brought a lot of peace in this country. This is an idea that we need to thank the President for, and for inclusivity, especially in looking at different parts of this country, also balancing the agenda finally and looking at professionalism for purposes of advisory. Honourable Speaker, I congratulate the two and congratulate your team for also having done a good job, having been quite professional in terms of the vetting and asking the relevant questions to get the right people to do the job. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Turkana, West, is it West?
North.
North, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the approval of these two CS nominee, the CS nominee and the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, I have worked with a school in Turkana County as when she was CC Water. And I want to tell this House, our school, Beatrice's school, comes with energy. She comes with competence. And I know by the time Beatrice's school was leaving Turkana County, she had left behind 160 boreholes dug and equipped. You can imagine that that is contrary to what we found when the county government was coming in place, where we found not more than 50 boreholes in Turkana County. So you can imagine the work she brings to being the cabinet secretary for EAC and regional development.
Pareo, 1 minute. Then Emasa, you'll close there, and I'll call the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to support the two ladies. And before I continue, I want to congratulate the appointing committee for the job well done. These two ladies has proved to have knowledge in the subject that they are being appointed to do. And they need our support because they are capable of doing the work they appointed for. And therefore, I would like to congratulate Dorcas, knowing that she has a lot of knowledge in the position of the Attorney General, because she has experience and for a long time have proven that she knows what she's supposed to do.
Then we have Beatrice, who comes from the marginalized communities and can give hope to other girls at home. And she's going to be a role model for the other girls, and these girls will also want to be where Beatrice is going to be. For that reason, I stand to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. From the onset, I also want to join colleagues in congratulating the two ladies. They were nominated not because Beatrice comes from Turkana or Dorcas comes from Luo Nyanza, but because of their competency, which they equally demonstrated before us, the committee, Honorable Speaker, that you are chairing. And secondly, I want to thank His Excellency the President for nominating the two nominees, and the nomination of the two ladies therefore made sure that the President complied to the 2/3 gender rule in his cabinet. So I want to thank him very much for that. And finally, I also want to thank the President for recognizing the minorities, nominating Beatrice from the Atakere community, of which I belong. That is a milestone for us, and we are very proud of that. And that therefore means that in the future, there will be a test on them also on the table, because now the minorities are on the table. Honorable Speaker, I support and I congratulate the ladies, without forgetting the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for nominating Beatrice Asikul. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Because close there. 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I want to support these appointments and say that having observed the proceedings of the committee, Honorable Speaker, to me, I think the President made a right choice, and he chose these two ladies on competence, not because one was a Luo or a Turkana. I think he looked at the competence of these two individuals, and I think these two Kenyans, and I hope that as they assume those offices, they'll be able to demonstrate what we saw in the interview and be able to deliver to our great nation of Kenya. Haircut to the President and also Honorable Raila Odinga for working together to make sure that this country stays united together. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Jeanette. Before you reply, honorable members, allow me to acknowledge Kabianga Junior School from Belgut in Kericho County, who are in the public gallery. I welcome them on your behalf and on my own behalf. Jeanette. Honorable Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first I want to take this opportunity to thank members for their contribution, Mr. Speaker, to this motion, and for the accolades that they have given to the two nominees, Mr. Speaker. It's very clear, Mr. Speaker, here that today the House is in agreement with the committee's recommendation that we approve the two nominees. And no member, Mr. Speaker, has cast any aspersions on any nominee, Mr. Speaker. And this is a confirmation that the nominees are suitable and competent enough to hold the offices that they have been proposed to, Mr. Speaker. I just want to share with the House that I sympathize and empathize because, Mr. Speaker, I'm aware of some few members on our side who were salivating for the position of Attorney General, starting with Honorable Kaluma, Mr. Speaker. Kaluma, Mr. Speaker, Kaluma has bought 3 suits. You know, the first, Mr. Speaker, the first nomination of cabinet secretaries were the first batch were 20. So these 2 remained. So I met Mr. Honorable Kaluma in a suit shop, and he was buying 3 suits at a go, Mr. Speaker. Then I asked him, what is the issue? He told me, I am being nominated as the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. Then I told him, okay, let's wait and see. So I had to take him for dinner the day the Honorable, Mrs. School was nominated. I told him, my brother, this is how the world is. Don't worry, your time is coming. Your time will come, and we will celebrate you another time, not now. This was not meant for you. So, Mr. Speaker, I sympathize with him, and I want to tell him that he can use those suits now in the House so that he can help Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, and he can use it as the Speaker's panel, Mr. Speaker. We want to see when Honorable Kaluma is on the chair with those suits, Mr. Speaker, and with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. All the members on their feet, take your seats. Take your seats. Take your seats. Honorable Kaluma, there will always be a better tomorrow. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Committee on Appointments in its third report on the vetting of the nominees for appointment as Cabinet Secretary for East African Community Affairs and Regional Development and Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, laid on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 14th August 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 152(2) and 156(2) of the Constitution and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following persons: Ms. Beatrice Askul Moe as the Cabinet Secretary for East African Community Affairs and Regional Development, and Ms. Dorcas Agik Odong Odwor, Senior Counsel OGW, as the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, before the next order is called, yesterday we had some serious interest from all of you on the issue of the new financing mechanism in our universities. The Honorable Meli has seen the Speaker this afternoon and expressed a request that there is an emergency, to which I agreed, and he's not here. I want to ask you if you are available for this particular issue alone, since you are going to recess tomorrow. If you are available, I can constitute and convene a Kamkunji on Tuesday morning to discuss this issue before you proceed on your recess. If you are not available, I don't have to. Is it in order? Let me see the level of interest. Those who want to come Kamkunji on Tuesday morning, be upstanding so that I see the numbers. Okay. Now, okay, take your seats. Not tomorrow morning, no. Honorable Meli will not be there, and he says he has a very comprehensive response and clarity to all the issues, including the issues that I directed him to go and check with the ministry. So I invite you, all of you, and it will be posted on your wall, to attend a Kamkunji in this chamber on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, so that we can have explanations. Those of you who have additional questions to ask on that issue, come so that it can be clarified as clearly as it can be. Next order. We now go back to order number 7.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable members, we'll now go back to order number 7, and thank you for the tremendous positive debate and industry on order number 11.
Yes, Honorable David Cheng.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wish to request for a statement regarding the abductions and extrajudicial killings in the country, especially during the just concluded Gen Z demonstrations. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the ongoing abductions and extrajudicial killings allegedly by police officers. Honorable members, Article 37 of the Constitution provides that every citizen has the right to assemble and demonstrate peacefully. Notably, when the current government came into office, there was a commitment to adhere to the Constitution and the rule of law. Unfortunately, the country continues to witness cases of abductions, some in broad daylight, and extrajudicial killings by police officers, especially during demonstrations against corruption and the high cost of living. It is worrying, Mr. Speaker, that while some of these abductions have been found alive, others have been murdered and their bodies dumped in swamps, dump sites, and mortuaries across the country. Additionally, whereas police officers are required to identify themselves, officers in civilian clothes have, in the recent past, failed to identify themselves while targeting peaceful protesters and abducting citizens across the country. This has caused distress to the families and the next of kin of those affected. Honorable Speaker, as you may be aware, this afternoon, the court has made a decision that the police officers going out on the demonstration must show their faces and their badges. Honorable Speaker, it's against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. Roman 1, a detailed report on the number of people arrested during the demonstrations in June, July, and August 2024, and the offices the said persons offenses that the said persons were charged with. Number 2, a list of the names of those who lost their lives during these demonstrations across the country. And 3, a tabulation of the number of unaccounted for bodies in each public mortuary across the country. And finally, Mr. Speaker, a report on the number of persons reported missing across the country as per the police records. Speaker, I do thank you.
Thank you, Honorable David Cheng. The Chair, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs, how long do you want to take to respond to this question?
Honorable Speaker, maybe on this one I need your indulgence, considering that we will be going for recess tomorrow. So maybe probably immediately when we resume. Unless you direct otherwise.
Honorable Cheng, fine with that?
Honorable Speaker, I know this is not a small matter, and I would wish that the chairperson takes their time as a committee to deal with this matter conclusively. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Chair, you will give your response latest the second week from recess. Latest the second week, the last Thursday of the second week, upon the House returning from recess.
Reason even should maybe a response from the ministry comes earlier than that.
Yes.
Maybe behind tabling when we resume, I can probably still share with the concerned members.
Certainly, obviously acceptable to Honorable Cheng. Yes, the matter that was raised by Honorable Naisula Lesuda MP is what the substantive speaker addressed just before he left the speaker's seat. So, do we have the response of Honorable Innocent Mumanyi? The response by the Chair, Transport, the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure. Honorable Jared Okello, what is the matter? What is out of order?
Honorable Speaker, I really concur with our brother Honorable Cheng that we need a comprehensive statement on the continued abductions and killings, wanton killings by the police, Honorable Speaker. Now, we are proceeding on recess tomorrow. So we understand that the responses can only come in about a month plus, Honorable Speaker. But in the interim, if we don't get an undertaking from government that this action will stop, then I'm afraid that by the time we come here to get the responses, we shall have lost more innocent Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. And this is stemming from Article 37 of our Constitution that gives us the latitude to picket, demonstrate, and file petitions to public authorities at will. But somebody wants to gag us so that we don't exercise our democratic rights, Honorable Speaker. Can we have an undertaking that before we get the responses from the government that this is going to stop in the interim, Honorable Speaker?
Yes, Honorable Lilian Gogo.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I think this is a sensitive matter that has been raised by Honorable Ochieng. And other than the need to have a comprehensive report, Honorable Speaker, it would really be very important that we have a situation where police don't hide their faces, they don't go in they don't go without their uniform, like the police who was running after one Samuel something. I mean, they should identify themselves. They should have, we should, as the public, we should be able to identify that this is a police officer and this is not a police officer, because thugs also go there. So it would be important that in part of the comprehensive report, we also get a report on the identification of the police officers and also the persons who also just go taking people who are picketing. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
As the chair of the Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs has noted those concerns, they'll be dealt with within the remit of what Honorable Ochieng asked. And I wanted to say that we had, that matter is spent. I had called the chair, Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure, to respond to the matter that was raised by the Honorable Innocent Mumanyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's really surprised that you are allowing debate on that matter, and you had already given direction on when the matter will be responded to. But I'm up to respond to the statement requested by Honorable Mumanyi, and I can see he is in the House. Honorable Speaker, I will not read the question. If you allow me, I'll go straight to the response. Honorable Speaker, on Wednesday, 12th June 2024, the member for Bobasi constituency, the Honorable Innocent Mumanyi MP, requested for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the reconstruction of a collapsed bridge in Nyamache Town, Bobasi constituency. Honorable Speaker, in the statement, the Honorable Mumanyi sought to, among other things, establish why KERA has taken inordinately long to reconstruct the bridge in Nyamache Town since its destruction by flood was reported in May 2023. Request the KERA headquarters in Nairobi to release the emergency funds totaling to 19 million for the immediate reconstruction of the damaged bridge. The measures put in place for the reconstruction of the said bridge. Honorable Speaker, the committee met the PS roads on 30th July 2024, and the response given is as follows.
Is Honorable Innocent Mumanyi in the House?
Yes, he is.
Honorable Innocent Mumanyi is not in the House.
Oh.
Chair, Transport and infrastructure members ought to be sufficiently interested in the matters they raise on behalf of the people of Kenya they represent.
Thank you. There is a member.
Because he's not there, I want to direct that you table that response here and get a way of giving him a copy of it so that we can transact other business.
Okay, I'm
yeah,
well
just
guided.
table it. It
I'm well
lessens
guided,
your
Chair.
burden.
Yes,
Yeah, so table it so that he can get a copy. And then you can also get a way of getting him either to get the response from the parliamentary officers and to take it up from there. Chair, Transport and Infrastructure, you will now respond to the question that was raised by Honorable Stephen Mule, MP.
I also can't find him here, Chair.
Is Honorable Stephen Mule there? Honorable Stephen Mule also is not within the House. You will also table that response for them to access us and when they will be back to the House. Respond to the question raised, Chair, by the Honorable Tindi Mwale. Is Honorable Tindi Mwale in the House? Tindi Mwale is the Vice Chair of the Public Accounts Committee. Yeah, take your seat. It is your question being responded to.
Honorable Speaker, on Thursday, 2nd May 2024, the member for Butere, Honorable Tindi Mwale, MP, requested for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the potential infringement of the right to privacy by the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA. Honorable Speaker, in the statement, the Honorable Mwale sought to, among other things, establish the measures being taken to address the issue of registered organizations being unable to create or activate independent NTSA accounts to avoid companies only having the options of linking their data to unauthorized accounts. B, steps that have been taken to protect citizens whose accounts are linked to an organization's transactions, given the company's transaction receipts display authorized persons' details instead of the company's details, such as the name, telephone number, email address, and an identity card or identity number. And C, the measures that have been established to ensure that the accounts of users with the limited rights on transactions of major accounts do not intrude into the privacy of the authorized person's personal data available on its citizen platform. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a response from the Ministry of Roads and Transport during a meeting held on 30th July 2024, which I now wish to make. One, regarding the measures being taken to address the issue of registered organizations being unable to create or achieve independent NTSA accounts. Two, avoid companies only having the option of linking their data to an unauthorized account. The ministry submitted that NTSA is not considering providing independent organizations accounts since it creates cybersecurity issues and lacks accountability. It is also not possible to know who is controlling these generic accounts at any time. Number two, regarding the steps that have been taken to protect citizens whose accounts are linked to an organization's transactions, given that the company's transaction receipts display authorized persons' details instead of the company's details, such as name, telephone number, email address, ID, and the ministry made an assurance that the citizens whose accounts access organizations' accounts are secure and independent of any other user accessing the same accounts. The individual natural account cannot be seen by any other individual unless unless they have access to their username, password, and phone. The account management within the eCitizen single sign-in allows individuals to only see the details of their accounts and now not that of other users. 3, regarding the measures that have been established to ensure that the account sub-users with limited rights on transactions of major accounts do not intrude into the privacy of the authorized person's personal data available on eCitizen platform, the ministry submitted that the sub-user accounts are used in large organizations that need more than one person to perform transactions. The users are row-based, and all they can access are the rows they perform. They cannot access the other individual person's accounts. This has always been the case, even when NTSA had generic and independent accounts for organizations. No user can access other user accounts or view each other's accounts profile details. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Chair. In respect of the others, just table them so that they can easily, the members who are not in the House can easily access them. Next order. Honorable Tindi, are you satisfied by the response?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I'm satisfied. I'm only waiting for you to give me the chance to move the next order. I'm the Vice Chairman of Public Accounts Committee.
So you are satisfied by the response?
Yes, from
coming from the relevant ministry through the chair?
Yes, I'm satisfied.
So Chair, you are released. You've satisfied all members. So next order now.
Order number 12, motion, appointment of a firm to provide external audit services to the Office of the Auditor General.
Chairperson, Public Accounts Committee to move.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House adopts the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the procurement of external audit service for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025. That pursuant to provisions of Article 2264 of the Constitution, the committee recommends that the National Assembly appoints, Assembly approves the appointment.
Chair, by way of properly moving, please beg to move the motion as per the order paper, word for word if possible. Then you can make contributions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House adopts the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the procurement of external audit services for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, providing external audit services to the Office of the Auditor General, OAG, with respect to Roman 1, the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for the period 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025. And Roman 2, the financial statements for the staff mortgage and car loan scheme for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2024-2025. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to provision of Article 224, pursuant to provision of Article
2264 of the Constitution, the National Assembly is required to appoint a professionally qualified accountant to audit the Office of the Auditor General. This is towards ensuring that the office itself, being the person of accountability, is in itself in compliance with the constitutional principle of accountability, prudence, financial management, and value to Kenyan taxpayers. The Office of the Auditor General is a key cog in the accountability cycle that culminates with the audit of sums appropriated by the National Assembly to all government agencies, including itself. Kenyan taxpayers expect prudent use of the resources towards service delivery. Parliament is a key consumer to reports of the Auditor General, including annual audit reports, special audit reports, and performance audits, which ultimately should guide budgetary provisions to all agencies. In these reports, Mr. Speaker, that is the fact occupy much of the time of audit committees. Mr. Speaker, the Public Accounts Committee has been on the forefront of advocating for increased budgetary allocations to the Office of the Auditor General. It has been the desire of the committee and indeed the National Assembly to have a fully capacitated audit office to keep up with the pace of the budgetary growth of our annual estimates. Indeed, the Auditor General will admit that despite more funding requirements, the office has seen tremendous growth in capacity over the years. For instance, in the last 5 years, the office had annual allocation of 5.88 billion in 2019-2020 financial year to the current Kenyan shillings 8.12 billion in the prevailing financial year 2024-2025, which has enabled the office fulfill its mandate enshrined under Article 229 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, it has been evident that lately the office has indeed used these resources to churn out more reports. The committee, Public Accounts Committee, have devised methods to consume all these reports and derive value for taxpayers' money. It is not lost on the committee that even as the Office of the Auditor General is independent, ultimately accountability and oversight rests with the people's representatives, Parliament. It is against this backdrop that we have continued to engage the office towards improving pace and quality of audits. Mr. Speaker, from the foregoing and in compliance with provisions of Article 2264 of the Constitution, the committee received a recommendation of award to tender on the procurement of external audit services. The committee further observed that an offer had been made to MSPKF Kenya Limited Liability Partnership LLP, subject to approval by the National Assembly pursuant to Article 2264 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I want the House to note that the genesis of this report is based on Article 2264, which gives the National Assembly the right and mandate to appoint a qualified accountant firm to monitor the operations and functions of the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, the committee, having satisfied itself with the due process was followed, resolved to recommend to the National Assembly the approval of the award of PKF Kenya Limited
Liability Partnership LLP. I will in brief demonstrate to this honorable House the process that culminated in the award of the aforementioned firm. Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of Article 2264 of the Constitution, the National Assembly tendered through request for proposal for provision of external audit services to the Office of the Auditor General. The open tender was advertised on 7th of June 2024 in 4 daily newspapers, our parliamentary website, and the public procurement information portal. Mr. Speaker, I want the House to note that the advertisement was done in accordance with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015 and was in accordance of Section 96. Mr. Speaker, the advertisement provided the terms of reference of the successful firm as follows. A, conducting independent audit of the organization's activities or operations in line with the international standards on accounting and international financial reporting standards and guidance by Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. B, expressing of opinion on whether the financial statements are prepared in all material aspects in accordance with applicable financial reporting standards and frameworks, has maintained proper books of accounts, and whether the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the Office of the Auditor General. Reviewing and elevating the organization's internal control and risk management system, and advising management and board in adequacy / effectiveness of the system and proposal of this improvement. Reviewing adequacy of the organization information system and infrastructure. Providing any other value addition services consistent with the audit of the organization. The tender submission and opening date was on 18th of June 2024 at 11 a.m. The tender required bidders to submit separate technical and financial bids. A tender opening committee was formed by the audit accounting officer on 13th June 2024 pursuant to Section 78 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015 to oversee the tender opening process. The following two firms responded by submitting their bids. Bid number 1 was the firm of PKF Kenya LLP. Bid number 2 was Nelson and Francis LLP. An ad hoc evaluation committee was appointed by the accounting officer on 13th June 2024, pursuant to Section 46 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015, to evaluate the bids submitted by the two firms. The evaluation committee concluded the evaluation exercise on 3rd July 2024 and submitted an evaluation report to the head of the procurement function as per the provision of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015, paying respect to Section 46. During evaluation, Nelson and Francis LLP was disqualified at the preliminary and mandatory evaluation stage for reasons specified in our report, including tax non-compliance. As you know, Mr. Speaker, tax compliance is a mandatory requirement in any procurement in this republic. PKF Kenya Limited met all the preliminary and mandatory and therefore proceeded to the technical second stage of the evaluation, which it scored an average of 80%
which was above 75%. This is when you combine the financial plus technical scores, it scored 75%, which was 80%, which was above 75%. Further, procurement procedures as elaborated in the report ended in award to the firm at a tender cost of Kenya shillings 25,565,235 Kenyan shillings. A notification of intention to enter into a contract was issued to the firm subject to approval of the House. It is this approval that this committee seeks from this honorable House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, during interrogation of the process by the committee, it emerged that it has been usual for very few firms to bid for the bid, and this time was no exception, with only 2 bidding. The apparent reason for this state of affairs has been that most of these independent audit firms shy away from professional distance, having been engaged by the Office of the Auditor General in other outsourced engagements. The committee's decision was, however, constrained with this fact, as the procurement laws were all adhered to. Mr. Speaker, the firm has previously been engaged by the National Assembly, that's the firm of PKF, and we are in fact waiting for its report for the preceding years. And the committee will submit this report to this House. The committee, we commit to provide thorough oversight to this important office towards improving operational efficiency and obtain value for money for every coin appropriated by this House. Mr. Speaker, this report is basically straightforward and a brief one, and I therefore wish to request the House to adopt our report and approve award of the audit services to PKF Kenya Limited. Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, just to conclude before I request my colleague, Honorable Undo, to second, the genesis of this report is Article 2264 of the Constitution, which gives the powers to the National Assembly to appoint a qualified accounting firm, and this firm is going to audit the operations and efficiency of the Office of the Auditor General. It is that basis that the Chief Accounting Officer of the National Assembly, who is the clerk of the National Assembly, conducted the Public Accounts Committee to request for Public Accounts Committee to go through the process and request the House through this report to approve PKF Kenya LLP partnership as the accounting firm which will audit the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, as you know, for us to have effective use of our taxpayers' money, we need to have a strong and robust, efficient accounting firm. This accounting firm is the Office of the Auditor General. We appreciate the report and the work of the Office of the Auditor General, but we want to have an independent firm that is going to help this House and Kenyans in general to audit the operations of the Office of the Auditor General. And that's why I'm pleading with the House to accept this report and accept that the PKF Kenya LLP begins its work of auditing the operations and efficiency of the Office of the Auditor General. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I've heard and seen members who have congratulated His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for appointments in the broad-based government. I want to take this opportunity as the Vice Chairman of Public Accounts Committee congratulate and appreciate the President for nominating our chairman, the Honorable John Mbadi. By the President appointing Honorable John Mbadi, he ascertained that this committee, the Public Accounts Committee, has got leaders and members who are capable and brilliant to lead this country even at the higher echelons of power, including the Ministry of Treasury. And I want to assure this House that this committee is committed and efficient, and this report has been evaluated well with the committee, and I believe that if we pass this report, we will make sure that the operations at the Office of the Auditor General are well, effective, transparent, and will benefit Kenyans in general. I want to stop there, Honorable Speaker, and request my colleague, a member of the committee, Honorable Oundo, the MP for Funyula, to second the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair, Public Accounts Committee. The Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to second the motion by the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya in its report proposing the appointment of an audit firm to audit the auditor. Honorable Speaker, this House, by dint of the Constitution of Kenya, appropriates funds to the Office of Auditor General as required under the Constitution in order to enable them undertake the works or assignment mandated to them under the Constitution and the relevant Act of Parliament. Concomitantly, Honorable Speaker, the House must therefore audit or oversight the funds that have been appropriated to confirm and satisfy themselves that they have indeed utilized those funds as provided for under the Constitution, any written law, or any operational procedures or manuals to ensure there is value for money and there is efficiency. Honorable Speaker, we have always said power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. If you give the Office of the Auditor General funds and there is no hint at all in law that we have to check whether they have used those funds prudently, then obviously human nature, by its very nature, there will be a tendency to misuse and misappropriate those funds. And that's why the drafters of the Constitution, their wisdom, said the Auditor General must also be audited. Of course, I can just look at it, the irony. The Auditor General catches the thief. I don't know whom do you send to catch the thief. Do you also send to catch the thief? But Honorable Speaker, I want to urge, pick the firm, PKF. I hope I've pronounced rightly, because Honorable my gadgets the other side, I'm here. I hope I pronounced correctly, I've picked it correctly. They ought to go to the Office of the Auditor General and apply the strict professional standards everybody expects them to apply. And as it was reported when we were in the committee, the clerk of the National Assembly clearly admitted they are having challenges in getting as many audit firms as possible participate in the tendering process to find an auditor of the Office of Auditor General. The reason is so simple. By the very large volume of work the Office of Auditor General has, occasionally we are told outsources some of their work to audit firms in this country. So obviously, there is conflict of interest, and they find this other side is more frequent and probably has got more pay than waiting to audit the Office of the Auditor General. Probably in the fullness of time, we might have to find separate mechanisms, Honorable Speaker, even if it means going beyond the boundaries and the borders of Kenya. So the tendering process, the procurement process can have some meaning. Honorable Speaker, having only 2 firms participating, and one by design, and all by coincidence, I do not know which word to use, completely is knocked off at the technical evaluation stage. Honorable Speaker, I cannot just imagine an audit firm to the class and standard of Nelson, a PLP, can present a forged tax compliance certificate. Was it by convenience? Was it by people complicity? So that we have a straight line process to the end for PKF? How reckless can they be? Yet, Honorable Speaker, the audit firms listed at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Is the financial sector in this country safe or not? That's why, Honorable Speaker, we need to relook at the architecture, because the way then things are, we are going to have a monopoly. And General Honorable Speaker, I was in the corporate world before I transited to the academia. There was a basic rule. No audit firm should audit one company for 3 consecutive financial years. The reason we continuously change is to ensure there's objectivity, there is fairness, there is an ability to pick out hidden accounting malady in any accounting records. Honorable Speaker, in the last financial year, we gave PKF to audit the Office of the Auditor General for 3 consecutive financial years. This particular tender, they're going to audit for 2 financial years. So in totality, they would have audited for 5 financial years, which is against basic corporate governance, corporate governance structures in this country and all over the world. So I call upon this parliament in its wisdom, or the office of the clerk, that the next time they tender, with now knowing that very few Kenyan firms will wish to participate, can we make it an East African tender so that we can get an audit firm in Uganda, Tanzania, even Somalia, so that now we have a fair and competitive tendering process. Second, Honorable Speaker, as a matter for you also to note, is now auditing process, Honorable Speaker, has gone beyond looking at the profit and loss account, has gone beyond only preparing the balance sheet. Honorable Speaker, auditing has gone out the way to look at the systems, operational system, standing operation procedure. Is the Office of the Auditor General adequately resourced to undertake their tasks? Very many cases, Honorable Speaker, they are not. So we hope their report will inform this particular parliament or any subsequent parliament to ensure that the Office of the Auditor General is adequately funded, is adequately resourced to have manpower with technical ability and relevant experience to audit the very many government entities that are now being forced to audit. Honorable Speaker, until the other year, they now have to audit primary schools, secondary schools, and other educational institutions. Honorable Speaker, you know me and you, how many those are, and how badly their books of account are maintained. We need to relook at it. Second, Honorable Speaker, and this is we must tell each other in this country without fear of sugarcoating any particular matter. The Office of the Auditor General is populated by the typical Kenyan, a Kenyan who is driven by typical personal gains instead of public good. You talk all over, Honorable Speaker, you sit and talk to these accounting officers. They have very harrowing experiences with the auditors sent to audit various government entities. And this we have told and continuously said. The Office of the Auditor General also needs to be audited in terms of personal integrity and professionalism in the discharge of their work. That's why, Honorable Speaker, many of the reports produced by the Office of the Auditor General, whenever they're subject to a test in any particular court of law, they fail short, they fall short, and that's why you don't get as many convictions arising from the report of the auditor General. It is time, Honorable Speaker, we must as a country relook at it, because the alternative is for us to go to continuously perpetuate corruption and use the office of the Auditor General to cover corruption. Honorable Speaker, I just wish PKF will be bold enough, other than just auditing the books of account, to go outside there in the field and ask those entities who are audited by those Auditor General, so that they can share with them the experience of being audited by those Auditor General, so that we can come to fore. We say exactly what is happening, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, many of us are members of Parliament here. When they come to audit CDF accounts, many times they deliberately write very adverse reports. And before even those reports are admitted here in Parliament, Honorable Speaker, they sneak those reports to the media, and the media now splashes, Honorable so-and-so has eaten bursary money. As if a member of Parliament is an accounting officer, he has to go to every single school asking for receipt to confirm the bursary money has been sent. That's why we are asking there must be infused adequate professionalism in the office of the Auditor General, so that Kenyans can get value for money. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, I also want to tell the office of the Auditor General, there are no sacred cows in this country. There are no stones that are not capable of being turned. They must go outside there and pick out the rot that is starting at the county governments, as well as the national government, and all over. We can save this country a lot of money. We do not have to borrow, Honorable Speaker. It's the office of the Auditor General that's the backbone that can save this country. Let them go out and pick out. Honorable Speaker, how do you explain, Honorable Speaker, a cabinet secretary can afford to buy a house of 215 million on a salary of less than a million? How is that possible? And yet that person is never dragged to any court of law, and even if they are dragged to court of law, the evidence is so weak, cannot sustain a conviction. Honorable Speaker, I support.
The Honorable Tindi Mwale and the Honorable Dr. Wilberforce Oundo confirmed to us that, did you second?
For record purposes, I second.
Yes, sir. Yes, so I was saying your contributions in moving this particular motion confirmed to us that the institutions of Parliament will always outlive whoever the member is in them. We don't feel the Honorable John Badi is now not the chair of Public Accounts Committee. Congratulations. Honorable members, let me now propose this question so that the House may debate. And I propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the procurement of external audit services for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 14th August 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 226, Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution, and Section 43 of the Public Audit Act, Cap 412B, appoints Messrs. PKF Kenya LLP for purposes of providing external audit services to the Office of the Auditor General with respect to 1, the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for the period 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025, and 2, the financial statements for the Staff Mortgage and Car Loan Scheme of the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025. The Honorable John Waweru.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I'm also very pleasantly surprised to have gotten the pole position to be the first one to speak on this one. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to just commend the format in which this report has been moved. The mover has done a beautiful job. The man supporting this, Dr. Oundo, we all know the quality of debate that Dr. Oundo brings to this house, has also supported and seconded this report very ably, informed the house and informed even on the processes that they have taken to get us to where we are. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this report. I stand to support this report because I do believe that this committee has ably applied itself before they presented this report to the House. And allow me at this juncture, Mr. Speaker, to also take this opportunity to congratulate the Honorable John Bundy, a long-serving member of this House who was also chairing this committee, and I'm sure he was part of this process, and I need to congratulate him for his new appointment at Treasury as the minister in charge of the affairs there. Mr. Speaker, the Public Accounts Committee has laid before us a very important report. And I would like to take some time to just appreciate the process that they undertook as provided for by the Constitution. This is Article 226, Sub-Article 4, and also the laws as provided for in the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, which has provided for the process that has been well spoken to by Honorable Tindi Mwale when he was moving this report. Mr. Speaker, these are the things I'd like to say about this procurement of an external auditor who is needed to come to audit the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General, who is also required to check into the financial statements for the staff mortgage and the car loan scheme at the Office of the Auditor General, and who is required to basically audit the auditor. Mr. Speaker, if we are satisfied that the process that was undertaken delivered us the right people who are the PKF, then we must task them to do the work that they are required to do. Mr. Speaker, if it is so, as has been reported by Dr. Oundo, that the process of procurement is becoming either inefficient or not delivering the right people, then, Mr. Speaker, I think it is at this point that this House must say that the process of the procurement of an external auditor for the Office of the Auditor General needs to be checked. The issues that have been raised here are critical, Mr. Speaker, that it cannot be coincidence or by design that the people who are up against PKF found themselves falling into some very technical issues which are bordering even on matters of integrity. The presentation of all would be a matter that should raise the eyebrows of this House, Mr. Speaker. As it has been said, this auditor is required to audit the auditor who audits other auditors who audit the books in this republic to ensure that there is prudent use of public finance. If there is a blemish on the process which was undertaken process, so if the matter of the procurement is brought to disrepute, then even the working of that entity shall be brought to disrepute. However, if the committee is satisfied that PKF, according to the laws and the constitution of this country, should be the audit firm auditing the Auditor General's office, then so be it. As per the report presented here, the committee is satisfied. So we have no other reason for us not to be satisfied. Now, when we task them to do the job, Mr. Speaker, we pray that the audits that are going to be done are going to be audits that are independent, but more so audits that can stand up to the accept would observe this. Then we shall be able to see and their work. If they apply themselves properly on this job, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that in their findings, they shall find that the Office of the Auditor General, as currently constituted, is not able to undertake all the work that it is tasked to do. This is an office that is a central office, probably somewhere here in Nairobi, that is required not only to audit national books, but also audit the counties, audit the ministries, audit the agencies, audit the departments. They are the same people who we see in our constituencies auditing our national government constituency development funds, Mr. Speaker. As currently constituted, I can feel the strain that is in this office. So if these auditors are going to do their work right, they shall audit and they shall find that as currently constituted, the Office of the Auditor General is inefficiently composed to undertake the job that they're required to do. Mr. Speaker, if they apply themselves to this work, they're required, as Dr. Undo said, to go beyond just auditing the numbers and the bottom lines and balancing out the books. An audit today requires for a system audit. It also, I dare say, requires for a welfare audit, Mr. Speaker. The auditing of the welfare and the terms of individuals working in this office. Mr. Speaker, on one occasion, I happened to sit next to the former Auditor General, a very esteemed Kenyan, Mr. Ouko, on a flight from Mombasa coming back to Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, I was shocked with what I heard. I came to learn that anybody serving in the Office of the Auditor General enjoys no perks and enjoys no other terms after their retirement. Person sitting in such an esteemed office, they are not sure of how they shall take care of their welfare when they leave office. Such a critical office. Mr. Speaker, tell me, why would such an individual not be tempted to get into matters that would bring integrity questions if they know that they are sitting in such a powerful office, but they shall retire to a retire accordingly? They shall find that within their rank and file, there are auditors who have bad manners, Mr. Speaker. Some who will go and bully the people who are being audited, Mr. Speaker. And some of them are being bullied for no other reason other than rent seeking, Mr. Speaker. I shall not want to talk if the PAKF that there is work to be done in the counties, Mr. Speaker. Shame when it comes to public procurement. And Mr. Speaker, because I see my point, that just as the office
maybe next to speak on this is the Honorable Jessica Mbalo.
For the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, I rise a firm to provide external audit services to the Office of the Auditor General by the Vice Chairperson, Public Accounts Committee, and seconded by the Honorable Member from the Lake, the Honorable Oundo. Mr. Speaker, allow me to say that the Public Accounts Committee has been chaired. I must say now that the report has been moved by the Honorable Tindi Mwale MP, the Vice Chairperson, and I want to quote for the purpose of our standing order that badala ya Musa ni Hussein. So I really think the Honorable Tindi Mwale, no, you are the acting chairperson, Public Accounts Committee. Mr. Speaker, for the last term, I was the vice chairperson of Public Accounts Committee. And I know what auditing is. I do understand how important is the office of the Auditor General is important. Mr. Speaker, having listened to the committee report, all the processes have been followed in terms of procurement of one Miss PKF Kenya LLP as the firm that has won the tendering process. Mr. Speaker, looking at the reports, the right procurement process was followed, all the processes were followed, and the Public Accounts Committee, with its membership, has been convinced that our Miss PKF Kenya LLP is the right firm to audit the Auditor General. The advertisement was done in terms of the successful firm, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say I'm very grateful that the committee has been able to conduct independent audit of the organization's activities and all the operations, of course, in line with the international standards on auditing and international financing reporting standards. And these are the guidelines, Mr. Speaker, by Public Sector Accounting Standard Board. And so this committee was convinced that the firm that they are seeking for approval from this House is well in terms of these books. Mr. Speaker, the committee has also expressed themselves and through opinion on the financial statements that have been prepared. And in all material respects, Mr. Speaker, it is in accordance with the applicable financial reporting standards and the frameworks, Mr. Speaker. They also looked at whether the organization has maintained proper books of accounts and whether their company financial statements, they have given us a true and fair view of the financial position of the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, these findings and this examination by the committee shows how the Public Accounts Committee went into details, even looking at the tenders in terms of the technical and the financial, aspect. Mr. Speaker, being an accountant, being a finance person, I'm convinced all these areas that the Public Accounts Committee looked at, that this firm is the right firm to conduct or to become the auditor to the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage in future that more firms bid in terms of such advertisements so that at least we can have competitive bidding. This, we only got 2 bidders, and out of the evaluation, that's why the audit committee has enabled to propose that the proposed external auditor who is going to provide the audit services to the Office of the Auditor General is the right one. Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General is a very important institution in our country, Mr. Speaker. All members of this parliament, and especially those who have constituencies, we've been audited, not us, but not the members of parliament. It's important for the public to know the member of parliament is not involved in NGCDF running. We are just oversight. We do our oversight, we do our public participation. But as Honorable Undo said, most of the times that you find some reports of the Auditor General, even the layman, you look at them and you'd say, if you are given that office, you would have done a better report. The wordings, the expertise. And so I think even with this firm, they are going to be audited and proper systems are going to be in place, even for them to be able to give the right opinion. You may find a class, for example, in constituencies, a class when the Auditor General comes to do his audit or their audit, maybe a class that is being constructed through the NGCDF board is 80% complete. And the statements that they will make, they will say not complete and paid or not complete within the time. Mr. Speaker, I think it is important for Auditor General also to be audited and taught on now and through this firm, because this firm seems to be a very experienced firm that they can also learn and also be able to do their auditing process. Mr. Speaker, the tender committee, which was appointed by the accounting officer, Mr. Speaker, on the 13th of June, is in pursuant to Section 78 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act to oversee the tender opening process, did its work, and the committee was satisfied. This is within the Procurement Act, which this House has passed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to speak a lot because the report is self-talking. In fact, given all the areas that they looked at, the advantages that the auditor to the Auditor General will be bringing to this country, and to, of course, for prudence use of our money. Mr. Speaker, I am convinced, and I therefore want to say I support the adoption of the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the procurement of the external audit services for the Office of the Auditor General for the financial years 2022-2023, 2023-2024, 2024-2025, which was procedurally laid on this House, and this we appoint MS PKF Kenya LLP. I thank you.
Very well. The Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the chance to just have a look at this report by Honorable Tindi Mwale. Very, very extensive, very elaborate, and of course, seconded properly. I think I'm a bit disappointed, Mr. Speaker, that this is what's coming at this stage. First of all, the auditor to the Auditor General, I would have expected, because there's a lot of eagerness to get jobs done, what have you, that they expected at least to get 2 or more than 2 applicants at least. We would have talked about 10 or so, because there are so many auditors in this country. And I'm just looking at it, and just two of them seem to have applied, and one of them has applied too, and one was taken, and therefore I think there's much more than it meets the eye. And I think it's important because for us, there's value for money, and we need to know exactly what is happening to the money that the Auditor General is actually checking, because we have a lot of misuse. We have a lot of people who are very miscellaneous in terms of usage of funds that actually this House approves on occasional, or no departments actually, or ministries. But now, my question is, and I'm a bit upset, only 2 companies actually applied for this job, and one was taken. And there are a lot of question marks only on the so-called PKF. Again, a lot of questions about the qualification of the same. And of course, now we are looking at it and say, look, is it right that there's this money that we are going to spend on this particular external auditors? Is it worthy or not? Secondly, it's also fair that I think even Auditor General should have an internal audit, a department that actually audit whatever transactions that have taken place. I don't know whether it is there, and if it's not there, then I think again it's something that this House must actually be brought to account. And I want to ask the Honorable Tindi Mwale's group to be able to look at it. Do they have the internal audit in the office of the of Auditor General? If there's none, we should have that creation. And of course, when you advertise, I would have expected more than 10 companies actually coming forward, Mr. Speaker, to participate in this particular. As only 1 or 2 of them actually came forward. And therefore, I think there's much more than it should be. I would therefore request that our department here, of course, now ask the Auditor General office to re-advertise so they can get more people, actually more companies getting to come and do the audit, which is, of course, audit must be done regularly. And I would think that as it is now is a shortcut. And therefore, nothing will come out of it. And therefore, I think, Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to ask our department here, our committee here, to be able to actually ask the Auditor General to re-advertise for this particular exercise. So there is a value for the money as it is. And of course, apart from that, I'll be able to then look at it, is it actually worth it or not? Because we have so much to do. There are so many loopholes in all the ministries. And therefore, the Auditor General is actually a very key department, and therefore, we are looking at it and be able to, and expecting so much from it. But as it is now, from what I'm seeing, no, it's not meeting what the requirements are. And therefore, I've got my reservation for the same, and therefore, I'm asking our committee to be able to come out and look at it critically, as somebody mentioned, and I think the second I was saying, in fact, instead of even having internal, let's make it international advertisement. You can get auditors from whatever, Europe, even whatever. Just look at the papers and see whether the procurements and whatever has been done in the other ministries has been done as expected. And therefore, I have my reservations, and I think we should look at it more critically and not just pass it for the sake of it, because I think it is much more than meets the eye. I support the report.
Engineer Paul Nzengu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me the opportunity to make my contribution on the report that has been brought to the House by the Committee on Public Accounts Committee, and just from the onset, congratulate the team for the work well done. And I also want to congratulate Honorable Tindi Mwale for the nice presentation and the whole committee for the work well done, even as we have the predecessor or the chairman who has just been elevated to the position of the cabinet secretary, my friend John Buddy. Mr. Speaker, I think the committee did a very good work to appoint an auditor to audit the Auditor General. As very members have said, over a period of time, this team has operated like people above the law. They are the people to point on the mistakes others have done, yet no one tells them the mistake they have done. For example, if you think about the fact that when they go to the constituencies, they punch holes on what has been done in the constituency, and they try to incriminate members of parliament as though members of parliament are part of the committee. We are not members of the committee that does the implementation of projects in the constituencies. There are established committee, there is established office of the CDFC, but because of malice or for whatever reason they do it, you end up hearing that certain constituency, the MP has misappropriated funds. How can you misappropriate funds that you don't even have a say over them? You are not a II holder, you are not a signatory of any account, you're not even a member of the committee after all. So I want to appreciate the work that has been carried out by that committee, and even for the appointment of FKF Kenya LLP, the auditor that has been appointed. Well, it's like other members have said, when you only have two competitors, you don't know whether the threshold for the professional requirement for appointment of such a level of professionals has been met. But yes, of course, when tender is floated and only a few people apply, then it is the right of those who have applied, whether it is one or two, to be awarded as long as they meet the minimum criteria. So I want to also then appreciate that PKF has been appointed to carry that duty or assignment. And it's not an easy assignment because you're dealing with professionals and people that have been in that business for a long time, and they have perfected the skills of doing it. So when you try to unearth, sometimes when people are being audited, they even try to hide certain information. So I know it's not going to be a walk on the park, but then I hope and believe that the committee found them to be beyond reproach and capable of doing the activity or the assignment that has been assigned to them. And with those few remarks, I support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Ridikiri Mugambi.
Give me the mic. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I tried to access. I forgot there was a different card I was given, and I didn't change my password. Mr. Speaker, I rise to identify myself with the report that has been tabled, whose subject matter is the appointment of Mr. PKF Kenya LLP as the external auditors for the Auditor General of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, the importance of Auditor General is very central in managing the utilization of the resources that various government ministries have been entrusted. Mr. Speaker, before I say whether I accept or not, Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General is supposed to be holy thou. This is the institution that is not supposed to be found to have any faults whatsoever. Mr. Speaker, this is the institution that is supposed to advise on the best performance and utilization of the resources that various MDAs have been given to them. Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General is supposed to identify gaps and make recommendations on how to cover those gaps. Mr. Speaker, we rely on the report of the Auditor General to flush out corruption in various institutions, government and quasi-government institutions. Mr. Speaker, we expect the Auditor General to make recommendations, and recommendations cut not or limited to financial aspects, but also processes, including procurement. Mr. Speaker, they are supposed to advise government on conformity to international standards of audits. Mr. Speaker, in as much as I agree with the report of the committee, I would say it has fallen short of one fundamental requirement in procurement processes. Mr. Speaker, I don't know. Only 2 entities brought forward their bid, and one of them, just like what Professor Oundo has said, it lacked some fundamental documents. I still have to get the specific recommendation that the committee made, convincing that that process of procurement was adhered to. If they convince us that they didn't have adequate time, Mr. Speaker, I was